Hello, I'm Eden Flaherty with Global Landscapes Forum, and I'm here with Valentine Ebua, the Africa Restoration Director for Conservation International. Thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Joe. Okay, thank you very much. I am Valentine Ebua. I am the Africa Restoration Director, as well as the Forest Lead for Conservation International. In this position, I oversee all the restoration projects in Africa, part of UAE and part of Europe. So in Europe, we have Spain, Portugal, and France. And for this, we have landscapes, forest, we have rangelands, and we also have mangroves, which are part of the Blue Ocean Program. So I oversee the protection, conservation, and the restoration of degraded landscapes. So we just designed a strategy that actually support restoration projects in Africa, where we have the three red lights: the green, the yellow, and the red. The green areas are actually the part that are still intact. So we try to enhance management strategies. We have the yellow parts that are neither protected areas nor belong to anybody, but are experiencing degradation. And we try to either expand these areas into protected areas, or we set up projects that can actually come in to support management. And then we have the red zones. These are actually the zones that are completely degraded, and needs our efforts to see how we can transform them into sustainable landscapes. And we do this in collaboration with partners, and most especially the local communities, where we look at certain commodity crops which can go through value chain addition with the hope of getting available markets that can actually, a product is considered final if it reaches a consumer. Marketing has also been a problem, but I think we are actually doing mapping to identify private sectors that can support this type of initiatives.
Cool. That sounds really interesting. The light system is a pretty innovative way to go about it. One of the places that you are currently working or setting up at the moment is Liberia. Yeah. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the situation there from a land use and agricultural perspective. Perhaps, is there any areas that fit into your red, green, and orange system?
Yeah, we have that. Liberia is a very clear example because in Liberia, Liberia is presently experiencing 26, they have 26% land degradation. And so we have a whole component that has been set up on land use. Like we were discussing, if you look at the word FOLUR, the middle letter, which is land use, if you actually tackle land use planning, then it means that the food systems and the restoration part is already managed. So we are putting a very big accent on land use. We have come to understand that when you look at land use and land rights in Africa, there is this gender component. The women are not, do not have right to land, to own land in most parts of Africa. Liberia is an example. The youth do not also have right to really own land. So we are doing a land use planning strategy with the government of Liberia to see how we can also develop policies that will favor this particular aspect. So we already have a land use plan that exists, but we are presently getting a consultant who will come in to finalize the land use planning where the FOLUR project is based. That is the northwest of Liberia, where we have a lot of palm plantation as well as cocoa. So permit me say we have two community products. We have palm oil and cocoa. So these are the two products that the FOLUR project in Liberia will actually be supporting. So this land use is to permit us actually identify how these two community products fit into it.
Great. So just drilling down a little bit more into the FOLUR project, as far as I understand from what I was reading, one of the aims of the FOLUR project is to try to leverage the experiences of organizations across Liberia that are already piloting innovative approaches. Yeah. Could you give us some examples of what these innovative approaches are?
Permit me say we have the FOLUR project is actually a child of the GGP, the Good Growth Partnership, which was piloted, and still by Jeff, and that is where the FOLUR project was actually delivered. And this was an initiative that went on well, but it also had challenges. So we now looked at the challenges and said, okay, within the FOLUR project, how can we bring this in? We also have other restoration projects, initiatives that have been ongoing, which actually target livelihood improvement strategies. And with the gaps that exist, we think that this can also come in. Permit me say we have so many partners when it comes to this particular FOLUR project in Liberia who are also implementing other activities. We decided to bring in a lot of partners because the FOLUR project is not looked at as a competing project with partners, but like a complementarity where partners can also leverage what initiative they have in Liberia to actually see that the FOLUR project becomes a success. So it's actually a co-financing project where we have so many partners in Liberia that are also supporting this. So, and with the various partners, they have existing initiatives that are actually supporting this. For example, we are just from discussing about the private sector engagement, which is actually a challenge. But in Liberia, we actually identified a very big actor, the Mano palm oil plantation, which has been existing for 20 years, actually overseeing how palm oil production moves on in Liberia. It is a key partner, and we just signed an MOU with them where they will be delivering quality seeds of palms, building capacity, and taking part in the land use, while we try to facilitate the stakeholder network and see how they perform they can actually strengthen management, because they have a market, but they need outgrowers. And to succeed with outgrowers, they need to move to the landscape. We identify the communities, the cooperatives, and then they can outgrow and outsource their initiative to see how they actually fit and meet up with the demand in the market.
I'm just picking up on one of the things you said there, which is the partnerships with the private sector. One of the aspects of the FOLUR program is developing what are called climate smart partnerships. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what that means?
For climate smart partnership in Liberia, we were looking at agricultural systems that can actually fit into that, because you see, when it comes to, I know palm oil and cocoa have been tagged as drivers of environmental degradation, and if that is the case, which it is in Liberia, then we need to make sure that we develop partnerships with institutions that are actually living into land degradation, where we have what I said, mentioned about sustainable landscapes. And through these sustainable landscapes, we are looking at adaptation and mitigation, which fit into climate smart agriculture in activities that are being done to avoid further degradation, but to ensure sustainability, to ensure quality production of the various processes that are ongoing. Cocoa was also identified. Like I said, when we look at the Good Growth Partnership, it was just palm oil. So we identified cocoa as also another driver of environmental degradation, and we said, okay, let's bring it on and see how this can tackle climate smart agriculture. You know, with climate smart agriculture, it has a very long procedure that we need to follow. We need to actually identify those that are involved into these activities, the various actors. We need to ensure that we have the quality seeds. We need to ensure that we have the adapted techniques that can actually favor sustainable agriculture. So this is what has been ongoing, and in partnership with the various institutions, we think later on the FOLUR project will be a success.
Fantastic, thank you. I think that covers pretty much everything. Is there anything else you'd like to mention about your program, the project, or where you hope it might go?
What I can say is that Liberia is actually fortunate because the co-financing has been very successful when the FOLUR project was developed and the partnership identified. Elsewhere, there is always this aspect of actually meeting up with the financing pledges. But in Liberia, that has not been the case. All the partners have already mobilized their resources that have been targeted to this project. I think the challenge now is to see how there is effective use of these resources to ensure that we actually get what the FOLUR project is all about to implement. And the government of Liberia has also done natural capital accounting where the FOLUR project fits squarely to see how it can actually serve for ecosystem services and support. So the Environmental Protection Agency for Liberia always says that the FOLUR project is a baby we want to see materialized, because it's going to help us not just in climate smart agriculture, but to look at how we develop other initiatives in other domains.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. That sounds great, and I appreciate you coming and sitting and having a chat with me today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Yeah.